Welcome to the Sam the Answer Man podcast. For 30 years, Sam Ventola has been an attorney, hearing officer, professor, and mediator. Now he's here to answer your legal questions. Sam the Answer Man, law made simple. Here's your hosts, Sam and Gina Ventola.
Hey everybody. Welcome to Sam the Answer Man podcast. I'm Gina.
And I'm Sam.
And we're so glad you're here. I mean, I love asking you all these, important legal questions because not only do you guys want to know, I enjoy learning more, and you seem to know pretty much everything.
Well, it's a hoot for me too.
A hoot and a half. So speaking of business owners, Sam, what is the difference? You hear all these entities thrown around, such as sole proprietorship, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, all these things. What do those mean?
Well, they're really just different ways of organizing your business, and some of them are registered with the government, some of them aren't. So, like in the good old days, we had sole proprietorships. If you were doing business on your own, and you were just doing it on your own, there would be a sole proprietorship. There were partnerships. Two or more people were doing business together. They would reach an agreement regarding that. Sometimes it was in writing, sometimes it wasn't. But if they're doing that, that would be considered a partnership under the law. And then there were corporations, and corporations were the entities that were registered with the government. And they were for usually larger enterprises that issued stock, and those would be registered to show, exactly their status as corporations, since you had to get approval from the government to register as corporations.
And a side note here, a corporation is defined as a non-human person. Isn't that correct?
It's considered a person for many parts of the law. So there are generally statutes which say that, for example, there's a federal statute that says whenever in the federal statutes a statute refers to a person, that includes corporations unless the context indicates otherwise. And so generally, corporations have the same rights and responsibilities that individuals do, but there are exceptions that only apply, obviously, to individual persons.
So when someone is picking their entity, whatever they want to be or their business to be, what are the things that they should listen for or that they should look out for?
Well,
like, why would they want to do it this way and not that way?
So there are the considerations of liability, there are considerations of taxes, there are considerations of how it's going to be managed when there are multiple people. And I should say first that there are new kinds of entities that one can choose. There are limited liability companies, there are limited liability partnerships, and then there are even limited liability limited partnerships. These are all different ways that one can choose to organize under the law now. So limited liability partnerships arose a while ago, and what they were was that it would be like a partnership, but only some of the partners, or maybe even one of the partners, was called a general partner and would have the responsibility and rights to manage the business. The rest of them were called limited partners, and they would contribute capital normally, but they would not be managing the business, and they also had limited liability. Only the general partner would have liability. Now we have simplified that by having something called a limited liability company, which is really the most popular way of organizing businesses in the country right now, because it has a lot of the advantages of corporations without the disadvantages. So one thing that's normally a disadvantage, at least if you're a small business about corporations, is taxation. Corporations have to pay tax on their own. They have to pay taxes on all profits that are made by the corporations. Then they distribute the profits to their shareholders, and then the shareholders are taxed for the appreciation for the amount they receive for their shares. And so it's sort of double taxation. Now, a corporation a small business corporation can avoid this through what's called a subchapter S election. But, it's something that, is difficult, it creates a difficult issue of taxation for most small businesses. The other issue about corporations is that they are more complex to manage. You're supposed to have corporate, meetings every so often. You're supposed to have minutes. You're supposed to have corporate bylaws and articles of organization. And if you fail to do these things, you may face the possibility that a court is going to say you fail to follow the corporate necessities, and for that reason, the corporation form may be disregarded and liability may apply to the shareholders. So, a corporation is something you don't want to do unless you're very prepared to follow all the requirements. Limited liability companies have been created. They're considered easier to manage. Instead of shares, there are percentages of ownership interest, and it's run by what's called an operating agreement. And all the people who have ownership interest in the LLC will sign the operating agreement. They're very easy to register with the state, although there can be complications in creating the operating agreement.
So the difference is, like, if you're forming a corporation, you're going to have articles and bylaws, is that correct?
Right.
And then if you're forming an LLC, you're going to have an operating agreement.
Right.
Okay. All right. So what kind of issues should business owners look out for when they're thinking about what kind of entity do I want my business to be?
Well, again, one is they're probably going to be looking for limited liability. And so that is a reason not to choose a common law general partnership, because a general partnership will apply liability to all the partners for any obligation or claim against the partnership. You'll want to choose one that has sort of a operating requirements that you think you can deal with. Generally, if you're only one person, an LLC is a good choice because you can't have a one-person LLC. If you're multiple people who are shareholders, the more people you have, the more likely it is you probably want to choose a corporation.
Okay. So it sounds like if you, as a business owner, are thinking about doing this, that you should probably talk to an attorney?
Right. You should talk, go through your situation, talk with the attorney, find out, talk about what you want to accomplish, how prepared you are for, engaging in, record keeping and corporate formalities. And then, the attorney could probably tell you what and then the tax treatment that you want. And the corporate attorney could probably tell you the best choice for your organization. Another big issue to consider is management, and specifically, who is going to be part of this corporation, who is going to have the right to manage the corporation. If we have more than one people, is it majority votes, or how is that going to be handled? And also exit situations. If somebody wants to leave the corporation, if somebody was expected to provide services to the corporation, wants to stop doing that, how are you going to treat that? How is their interest going to be evaluated to allow them to exit? These are issues that you want to consider early on. It's particularly troubling when people have two people who are going to be the principals of a corporation equally, because when that happens, if there's ever a disagreement, you theoretically have an impasse, and unless they can resolve it, it will ultimately result in having to terminate the corporation. So it would be a good idea to speak with an attorney who can help you come up with strategies for resolving an impasse that wouldn't necessarily require terminating the corporation.
And those would be the types of things that your attorney could help you put in the operating agreement, if you're an LLC, or your
bylaws
and
a corporation, right? Or if you're a partnership, in your partnership agreement. Any entity should have a governing document, and it needs to be the right governing document according to what an entity is, and it needs to be prepared for issues that may come up for that entity.
And you mentioned exit strategy. So would one of those exit strategies be like a business divorce, basically?
Right. Yeah. You need to. Even though everybody comes in gung ho thinking they're going to die, doing this business, you need to think about how to resolve it one of the parties wants to leave, or if they die. If they die, you know, how is their estate going to be treated in terms of distribution of the corporate assets, or being paid according to the value of the company. You have to come up with a mechanism for evaluating that.
So bottom line, it sounds like what you're saying is if you as a business owner are thinking of incorporating or creating your business as a separate business entity, you should talk to an attorney. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And I also think that's important for people who are sort of creating LLCs or corporations. You know, a lot of people think that if I create a corporation, then I'm not going to have any liability to anybody for what I do. And that is not necessarily correct. A corporate form or an LLC form, something like that, protects you from certain liabilities, but not others. If, for example, you are sued for something you did, let's say you're an accountant and you formed your own accounting corporation, and then somebody sued you for making a mistake on your taxes or whatever. If you're sued for your own actions, the corporate form doesn't protect you. You can still be sued individually. That's something you realize before, you know, launching into creating a corporation. That may not be accomplishing what you think it is. However, if the corporation enters into a contract in order to rent an office or a car or something, and then defaults in that contract, if it's a corporation is the party that was on that contract, you're not going to be individually liable. However, the reality is that in most situations, if you have a small corporation or a corporation that was just formed, most people who you deal with are going to want you to sign personal guarantee. And if you have signed a personal guarantee, then again, you can still be individually liable in that obligation.
That's true. There you have it. Thank you, Sam. That was so helpful. If you have any helpful or need some additional information, reach out to Sam. It's sam@samventola.com. If you would like more information on our podcast, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is called, wait for it, Sam the Answer Man. And we also have it in audio form. So you can go to Stitcher, you can go to iTunes. There's a ton of places you can go to find us on Spotify. We're everywhere. Cannot get away from us. So thanks for watching or listening. We really appreciate you. And if you have topics that you would like to hear more information on, you know, email Sam and let us know. Have a terrific day.
Thank you for coming.
If you would like to discuss your legal issue with Sam, please contact Ventola Law at 303-864-9797 or check out our website at www.ventolalaw.com. Ventola Law, mediation and legal representation at an expert level.